Good morning, everyone. We are still admitting other people. Let's give it about 3 minutes, then we can start with the session. Okay, good morning, everyone. I think we can start. My name is Pusiletso Mokgano. I'm going to chair the session for today. So what we'll do, we'll go straight to the housekeeping rules, followed by the introduction of the presenters for the day, and then go straight into the presentation. I'll hand over to Melanie to take us through the housekeeping rules.
Thanks, Pusiletso. Morning, colleagues. Welcome to the webinar. I'm just going to take you through the housekeeping rules. All participants will be muted during presentations. If you have any questions during the presentation, please share these on the Q&A platform. The chat platform has been disabled, so all questions need to be placed on the Q&A platform. During the Q&A session towards the end of the webinar, if time permits, mics will be enabled. Also, when it comes to application-specific questions, these will not be addressed in this session. You are encouraged to please send these emails to the email addresses that will be shared in the session this morning. And also, just note that usually we always place our presentations online, meaning it's available to attendees. I will share that address on the Q&A platform. Just look out for that. Thanks, Pusiletso.
Thanks, Melanie. So I'll introduce maybe Ntokozo or Melanie, if you can display the agenda for the day, then I'll introduce the presenters.
Sure, 1 second.
Thank you.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. So as per invitation, this is the agenda for the day. I am the chairperson for today. My name is Buselo Zamukwana, as I've already said. Let me just turn on my camera. Hopefully it's not too dark. Right. Yeah, I think the lighting in the background makes it too dark, but my name is Puseletso Mokgano. I am the manager for medical devices licensing, vigilance, and compliance. I am the chairperson for today, and I will deliver one presentation right at the end. I'll hand over to Umpile, then Uneaho, followed by Redumits.
Greetings, colleagues. My name is Umpile Mokwena, Medicine Registration Officer under licensing of medical devices. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Onea Munyiliote. I'm a medicine registration officer under licensing for medical devices and IVDs. Pleasure to meet you all. Thank you.
Redumits.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ritimetse Katlani, and I am a medicine registration officer responsible for licensing and vigilance of medical devices. Thank you.
Thanks, Redumits. So you're all welcome. I think we've gone through the housekeeping rules. So all questions then will be posted on the Q&A platform. We will go straight now into the presentations. We'll start with the first one, which is the applicable fees for medical devices, and Peter will take us through.
Thank you very much, Chair. Basically, the first slide is the content of our presentation as indicated by Puseletso. I will be touching a little bit on applicable fees. My fellow colleague Onya will touch on renewal applications, and Ritumetsu will touch on guidelines for management of medical device vigilance, and then Puseletso will conclude with the ISO 13485 certification. Thank you. And there you go. Thank you, Melanie. So in terms of payment of applicable fees, just to break it down, an LNL is a license notification letter. So a license notification letter is usually issued when a license has been approved. And then the letter also indicates the amount which the applicant has to pay. So what we are also faced with, which is a little bit of a challenge, is that most applicants, they just, after sending them an license notification letter, they revert by sending us back the LNL, which is something, very disturbing. And others, they even attach the application fee. Remember, a distributor and a wholesaler, it's 15,000 Rand. That's the application fee. So as soon as the license has been approved, you need to pay an amount of 3,400 Rand, which is clearly stipulated on the license notification letter. Then so these are just some of the challenges that we are facing. So as soon as you receive a license notification letter, please just make sure that you send us a proof of payment. In essence, the person who has sent you the license notification letter, just respond to that person. And then what we usually do, as soon as you respond to us, we will send you electronic copies of your license, which also includes your cover letter there. So in terms of collection of hard copies, as soon as we send you the electronic copies, we also indicate that we indicate the date in which you have to come and collect hard copies of your license. We also have retention fees, which are paid on a yearly basis. And it's also a little bit of challenge. Some, they don't pay them. And this will clearly results to, most of the companies are not being listed on our register. Remember, when we update our register is updated based on the fact that you have paid your collection fee, you have also paid retention fees accordingly. So it's not a once-off thing, it has to be paid annually there. Thank you. Can you go to the next one? So in terms of Regulation 6 of Regulation 5 of the medical device and IVDs, it indicates that despite the period of validity of the license, as the licensee, you must pay your annual retention fees as continued for the continued for the registration as determined by the authority there. Now, as I've indicated that retention fees are paid on an annual basis, our finance department, what they do each and every June, they issue invoices. Invoices are usually issued in June, and if you haven't received any invoice, please, we plead with you, just send our finance department, finance@sahpra.org.za. Just indicate to them that you haven't received any invoice. So this can be sent, let's say, first week of July or second week of July, just to check if your retention fees are up to date there. So what's also disturbing at the moment is that for the year 2024, we have at most 900 companies which have not yet paid their annual retention fees for the year 2024. So it's a little bit of a challenge, as indicated that many of these companies, they are not going to be included on our register. Hence, most of our applicants, they keep on complaining. In terms of, I think most of you were interested in this one, the retention fee project. We had a retention fee project which started in June. And from the beginning of this project, we had different phases. What we did, we started with the phase 1, which was sending an intent to cancel license, which the letter clearly indicated the yes, that you are owing, but most of the applicants did not respond accordingly. They were not willing to respond us. In essence, they were disinclined. We tried our level best as the medical device unit, sending reminders, also calling applicants, and we were calling those basically where we found out that their email addresses were bouncing. So we had to call them just to check. Did they receive the letter? When are you going to pay? But as I've indicated that most of them, they were unwilling. Then we also engaged with our debt collection company, which is the Yellow Clip, and we really appreciate, those who were calling us after they found out that Yellow Clip was also making follow-ups just to check if does SAHPRA recognize this company. We really appreciate that. So most of the applicants, they did make a payment arrangement with the debt collector. Then after we've tried, engaging with most of our applicants, we were left with no other option but rather to adhere to Section 22E and Regulation 10A of the Medical Devices and IVDs, which is the cancellation of licenses. So just to inform the industry that it's not a decision which we just decided to take. As I've indicated, there were phases, we're engaging with applicants, and those who were not willing, we were left with no other option but to cancel the license. The next slide, Melanie. So those who have received the cancellation letters, it's within your right. Section 24 does allow you to appeal against the decision of the authority, provided you also attach your proof of payments accordingly. Thank you very much. My fellow colleague Onyaho will take over from here.
Thank you, Mpili. I'm going to speak about renewal applications. With renewal applications for medical device establishment licenses, we have published a communication on the SAHPRA website on the medical device landing page. The document number is MD031. It stipulates the requirements for a renewal. With a renewal application, we do not expect any changes that will affect the existing or the current license that has been issued. These are changes in key personnel. Key personnel is the authorized representative, the license holder, the personnel that is responsible for import, export, distribution, manufacturing, or wholesaling, and the personnel that is responsible for quality assurance or quality control. And changes of addresses as well will not be permitted during a renewal process, and addition of product classes that affect the classes that have already been authorized under the current license. So these changes are categorized as an amendment, and a renewal cannot be processed concurrently with an amendment. And such changes will also increase the evaluation timeline, which may lead to the license expiring while it's still under evaluation or under processing. So we also encourage applicants before submitting a renewal to check and verify with the GMDN agency. This is applicable to manufacturers and distributors. Verify with the GMDN agency that the GMDN codes of the products that they have been listed are still valid and are not obsoleted, as we are not in control of the updates that are done by the agency. Next slide, please. Thank you. For renewal applications, applications must be submitted at least 90 days prior to the expiry date of that license, or up to 6 weeks before the expiry date of that license. This is to allow us to review the application and issue it in time, so that the license doesn't expire before a new or a renewed license is issued. If the application does not meet the evaluation criteria, there is an observation letter that is then issued, and we do urge applicants to respond in time so as to avoid any inconveniences within the evaluation process or within issuing of the license. Our application process takes 6 to 8 weeks to finalize, so we do urge everyone to respond in time so that we are able to issue the necessary documents within timelines. Thank you. My next colleague will continue from here.
Good morning, everyone. As indicated, I will be providing an update on the guidelines for the management of medical device vigilance. We had draft guidelines which were published for comments in November 2023, and thereafter we received comments, and this comments, the period closed in February 2024. We then collated the comments, and the guidelines went through internal review, and thereafter these guidelines were then approved, and now we are at the stage of finalization of the documents, and then thereafter we'll be publishing those documents for implementation. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Ridumetse. So I'm going to just touch on, or just give a brief information on the ISO 13485 certification implementation plan. So we published a communication sometime in 2022 indicating that the implementation or the requirement for certification for ISO 13485 will only start in 2025. So we are almost at that stage where the requirement for certification will be required for manufacturers and distributors. And I think we all are aware this is to harmonize key areas of medical device manufacturer and distributors quality management system. As indicated, the communication published in 2022, that is MD030, Medical Device Establishment License Renewal ISO 13485 certificate communication, was published, indicating there will be a delay in terms of implementation. So that delay was 3 years. So during between 2022 and now, we have received a number of queries, questions related to when are we starting. But the main thing that we've highlighted just a few on or just collated those queries with most companies indicating that or asking what is the implication of this delayed implementation, because as soon as the requirement was published by SAHPRA, most companies went ahead and got ready for the implementation or getting certified for 13485. So the commitment was there. Some did get a certification. So they wanted to now understand what happens Mel, if you can go back to the
Oh,
the
sorry.
previous slide, please. Sorry. Okay, so the other query, and this is mainly from small companies, they indicated or asked how will this work, especially with startup companies when it comes to the financial commitment as they are struggling to survive as it is. So the plan has taken into consideration all these input. Also, the main one was the limited number of conformity assessment bodies available in the country. This we look at it as we have those companies that have been published on our website. And again, maybe once the process starts, we will have more interest with most companies, obviously investing in the process so that they can also register as conformity assessment bodies. And we also got the question of how long will it take, and then what happens then at the time of, let's say, an application for an amendment or renewal if the certificate is not in place. So understanding all these questions and worries, we then developed an implementation plan, which I will present in 2 slides. Mel, you can move to the next one. Okay. So the current situation, and this is what we looked at internally as well as externally. So we have over 2,000 active licenses or medical device establishment licenses with SAHPRA. Plus or minus 80% of those are manufacturers of distributors. So this is the number that we had to take into consideration when we think about the requirement for ISO 13485 as it will apply to this 80%. So that would be roughly 1,700, 1,800. That's excluding new licenses, obviously. And on average, we have about 200 renewal applications received per year. So if we are going to follow the implementation plan as per 2022, it means 200 companies then would have to be ISO 13485 certified then as they renew their licenses. We also looked at the limited number of recognized conformity assessment body, but we also looked at the possibility of having more once the process has started. And we also looked at the timelines for certification. Some companies are ready by the time they apply for ISO 13485 certification. The process is quite quickly, but for those that are not prepared, the staff hasn't been trained, there's no resources assigned, so that may take longer. So what would happen then at the time of application? So that was considered as well. And was there enough communication shared with the industry? So there has been the communication shared in 2022, but between 2022 and now, we've had ISO 13485 requirement in most of the industry communication that we've had. We've also been responding to emails that we have been getting from concerned license holders or applicants on the status. So we have tried to keep that communication going. Mel, if you can move to the next slide. So what we looked at then as the implementation plan was the different phases. We don't have specific timelines, but we know that phase 2, it will be April of 2025, because that's what we indicated. How long will it take to move from phase 2 up to phase 5? Then it will be dependent on a number of factors, the availability or the applications that we're receiving, the staff capacity within SAHPRA, the status in the industry, how many have applied, how many have received the ISO 13485 certificate. So the timelines, they will not be static. We're going to explore the timelines. However, we anticipate that 3 years from now, everyone should be on the same level. So phase 1 was to sensitize the industry by a way of making sure that communication is out there. This started in 2022. And then as of 2025 April, any renewal application that is submitted, we will need an ISO 13485 certificate or proof that the process for certification has started. But then phase 3, which goes together with phase 2, is that any other application, whether it's a new application, whether it's an amendment, or a renewal, if the company is already in possession of ISO 13485, this will make it easier for us. So this goes hand in hand with phase 2. And then we'll also now move to the amendment application, that at the time of an amendment, whether you have had a renewal before or it's an amendment of a new license, you will have to be ISO 13485 certified. And then phase 5 is that any application being submitted for a medical device establishment license, we will have ISO 13485 certificate available. Thanks, ma'am. If you can move to the next slide. Okay, so if you can go back, I think we were somehow overambitious. We thought we will take long addressing all these issues. So before we move, the contact details are just for information for communication with the unit. Maybe Mel, if we have questions, we can address questions, and then anyway, we'll actually cut this presentation a bit shorter if we can start with the questions. Then if everyone is in position to ask question. I haven't seen any hands. I don't know if the team has managed to look at the Q&A on the side, or I'll have to read through those questions.
Pusile, so there are questions on the Q&A. Would you like to take those and then take hands?
Okay. So they're not in order, Mel. I see others are like...
Okay, let me start from the bottom for you. 1 second. Okay. This is from Arlene Anderson. Thank you for the meeting. My question, should the applicant not be ISO compliant by April 25 deadline, what will be the consequences with regard to trading of the affected devices?
So ideally, everyone should be ISO certified by April 2025. But based on the information that we have at hand and the queries we've had, we will start looking at anyone applying for a renewal application. And then we'll move to the amendment and then all new. So it's not going to be that those that do not have as of April 2025 then will get in trouble. But if you are applying for a renewal application in April of 2025, you will need to be in possession of a ISO 13485 certificate. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Puseletso. This is from Maria Villa Casellas. Does this also apply to vet medical devices, as ISO 13485 only applies to human medical devices? I just wanted to confirm this.
Okay, so the issue of the import of vet devices, we've been having discussion internally on how do we manage those. But Onyaho, since you have been involved, can you assist with that, please?
It was already answered. Apologies. Cleo did answer. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
The next one. Okay, Khadija Mayet, it's already been answered. From Equity Regulatory, Aneo has already answered you. Okay, let's go up. The medical devices team is on point today. They've answered almost everything. Okay, Karabo. Okay, that's done. All right, so this is from Nadia Alexander. Good morning. Please confirm whether distributors of Class A non-sterile, non-measuring medical devices need to be certified in terms of ISO 13485 2016.
Okay, Nadia, at this point, all distributors and manufacturers will need to comply with the requirement.
Okay. Okay, Flucia, you've been. This is from Leith Kwan. Please confirm, as per previous communication, that the MD Vigilance Guideline will be published during Q4 2024, that is by end December 2024.
Okay, maybe I should start giving my team the opportunity to respond to it.
Good morning. Yes, the guidelines will be published by the end of Q4.
Okay, great. This is from Geeta Singh. Does ISO 13485 also apply to applicants who manage distribution via third party?
But maybe if we can give Geeta the opportunity to ask this question, I'm not sure. Maybe just to be specific on
Sure.
the activities. Yeah.
Ntokozo, you want to just open mics for the time being?
Sure.
Thanks. So Geeta, you want to answer? You want to ask the question? Your mic is open.
Thank you so much. I really
Okay.
appreciate this opportunity to engage. Just in terms of ISO 13485, so as an applicant in the country, we do have a distribution license, but the stock doesn't come to us. It is managed by our third party. So no product on site, everything goes through to a third party. So on our distribution license, we do have the ability to import, export, and obviously that is why we've applied for that license. I think that maybe that helps with the clarity.
Oh, yes, it does. Oneho maybe will respond. But just to confirm, Geeta, so what you're outsourcing is just the storage of the medical devices. You're still the importer for that specific medical device.
Correct. Well,
Okay.
a third party manages the import for us so as well. So but on the actual certificates, everything, it will say us as the importer, any of the documents. Yeah.
Okay. One, if you can take this one.
Thank you, Pusiletso. All license holders of a medical device establishment license for distribution and manufacturing are required or will be required to have their accreditation by the deadline. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mel?
Yes. Okay, I'll continue with questions. Did you answer the question from Dorcas? Did Dorcas just speak?
No, it wasn't Dorcas.
It wasn't Dorcas. Okay.
No.
Okay. The next question I've got on the Q&A platform is from Natasha Lachman. Please confirm the ISO requirements, if any, for a wholesaler or of medical devices. Wait, Anaya has already answered. That's okay. Hold on. Let's go to the next question. Okay, this is from Rachel Otto. So if you are not due for an amendment by April 2025, does that mean that there is no immediate implication by April 2025 if you are not accredited to ISO 13485 as yet.
Okay, Mel, thank you. I'll take that one. So what's important in understanding the requirement for getting certified? The first thing is that the process will take some time. And there will be review of your own processes, training of staff, management of your resources and whatever. So to make sure that you are ready, and I think it's the assumption of the authority that everyone has started the process. So if you have started the process, it means whether you have an amendment or renewal, you might have the certificate before time. So I don't want to say there won't be any implication because we're still working out the process, but all manufacturers and distributors need to get ready for the process, anticipating that April 2025 will be the date. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Pasiletso. Okay. Sarah's been answered. This is from Humrea Laha. Can you please confirm implementation date for phase 4 of ISO certification implementation?
So it's a bit difficult to confirm the dates at this point. So we will, before April 2025, work out the whole process with the actual timelines. But depending on how phase 2 and 3 go, which is basically the same, it might be that everyone by the end of 2025 will be required to be certified, or there might be just a bit of an extension, but it's not going to be 3 years like it was in the past. Thanks, ma'am.
Thanks, Pasiletso. I'm going to assume, I'm not sure what this abbreviation is, but it's from Nokwetemba Vilakazi. What is the impact on R&D conducting clinical trials at clinical trial sites?
Okay, so the question sounds incomplete, but only if you can come in.
Thank you, Pasiletso. I think we'll take the question to the registration team, as it seems that it is focused towards registration, and we'll provide a response in writing. Thank you.
Thanks, Onea.
Yeah, and just to add, I think on the housekeeping rules, we did say, so for some questions or questions in the chat, especially those that were not responded to, or we feel like we can provide more information, Mel and the team will publish on the website with the responses for everyone to access. Thanks.
Thanks, Pasiletso. Just scrolling through. This is dealing with an application form. This is from Nadia Lahani. Could you clarify phase 3 again, please? Which applications are impacted in phase 3?
Okay, so phase 3, like I said, might be going together with phase 2. So phase two, we said we will start with the renewals, anticipating that we'll have about 200. Phase 3 means that if you're applying for a renewal, a new license or an amendment, and you're already in possession of a certificate, then we will accept it. So it's more like a voluntary, because you already have finalized the process and you have the certificate in place. Thank you.
Thank you. This is from Hannes Drea Brunel. Should importers or exporters of Class A only have medical device licenses as now, or as this was always an exemption? I don't know if that's correctly phrased.
Yeah, no, it is. No, I do understand.
Okay.
Or Umpile, do you want to take this one?
Thank you, Pasiletso. I can manufacturers, importers, or distributors of Class A non-sterile, non-majoring devices are exempted from being in possession of a medical device establishment license. However, it is also at their discretion to apply for a license if they wish to do so. Thank you.
And I would also like to add on that one, because we do get the question where especially the Department of Health have tender specification that includes a requirement for SAHPRA license, even though it's a Class A, non-measuring, non-sterile. So this is an exemption from our side. However, if you want to comply with the tender specification and the requirement is a license, then you will need to be in possession of a license. So as One said, this still depends on obviously on the applicant and the business model that you're following. As well. Thank you.
Thank you. Just going up. Following Geeta's question, does ISO 13485 also apply to applicants who manage distribution via third party? Just confirming, does the third party warehouse under the applicant's ISO 13485 does not need a medical device license? This is from Madeline PS.
Okay. So I think the important part is the activity. So if the third party is just providing wholesale services, where a wholesaler at this point is not required to have the ISO 13485 certificate, then that will be it. But from Geeta's question, it felt like there is another distributor involved where that requirement then will be applicable.
I hope that answers your question, Madeline.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. This is from Jaco Engelbrecht. If we are GMP certified, do we require ISO 3485?
Oni, please come in.
Thank you, Pusilitso. If you are a holder of a medical device establishment license to either manufacture or distribute, but as a wholesaler, then communication will be shared at a later stage to establish the requirements. Thank you.
Thanks, Anil. So I'm not sure if this is regarding an application, but it's from Ilse Brits. When a notification is submitted, will we receive a reply on acceptance of the notification? To date, we have not received replies on notifications.
Okay. So the one part of it I can address, Mel. So when you're submitting a notification update to your product listing, we will respond in a form of an email, whether it's approved or not. If you haven't, then please make use of the contact details here. You can send it directly to me, then I will check what happened to that notification. Thank you.
Thanks, Pusilitso. This is from Travis Ajoda. Good day. What will be the status of the current guideline, which contains both adverse event reporting and recalls, in light of the new vigilance guideline to be published? Will those sections currently relating to vigilance become superseded by the new guideline? Will the recall section be applicable only, or will a new recalls only guideline be published as well? That's a loaded question, so I can go through it again if you want me to.
No, I got it. So yes, in terms of vigilance, the new guidelines, when published, will override the previous one. The recalls guideline is handled by a different unit within SAHPRA, so they're also working on the draft. How far they are, I cannot give information, but they have started. So once they have published theirs, then I guess the whole guideline will become obsolete. But at this point, we're only going to focus on the vigilance recalls. Then the regulatory compliance will communicate what happens moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We're almost towards the end of the questions on the platform. This is from Sandra Abru. Just for clarity, if you do an amendment to your MD license post-April 2025, then you have to demonstrate that you either have started the ISO 13485 process or have a certificate.
Yeah. So the more detailed communication will be shared, but yes, I do agree, because the assumption of the authorities that everyone has started with the process, and under the difficult circumstances that we don't have enough conformity assessment bodies, and the resources required, is that you start in advance so that time does not become a factor. But yes, if you have, you can submit, but if you have applied, you're going through the process, you submit that evidence as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. So this is from S. For renewal, there is a 3 months timeline. Is ISO required 3 months prior to expiry or at date of expiry?
So I think I missed that, Mel, but if you got it, you can respond.
It says for renewal, there is a 3 month timeline. Is ISO required 3 months prior to expiry or at date of expiry?
Oni, you can respond.
So, if I recall, it's ISO required, or ISO 13485 required 3 months prior to expiry. May I please clarify expiry of what? Is it the license?
Whoever asked the question, S, can you just...
The requirement for ISO 13485 accreditation is from the beginning of April 2025. So it is not based on the expiry of the license. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aneo. This is a question, it's the last question on the platform from Nokwetemba. Just for clarity, if I, as an applicant, have an MD license which is used for RUO and is distributed by a third party, do I still need to maintain the MD license? Colleagues?
Oops, sorry, Oni, you can come in and sorry about that.
Should we ask one of the licensed colleagues? Are they available?
I can come in. So Nogatemba, I think you can, I'll just drop my email. I'm not understanding the question there.
The previous slide, Mel, on Pila's, yeah, the email address is there.
It's here. Okay. Okay. This is from Mani Vandenberg. Does SAHPRA have any criteria in place when reviewing and approving the registration of continuous glucose monitoring systems into South Africa?
So in terms of the product registration, we haven't started with the product registration. I think there has been some presentation or webinars on the feasibility study that the unit has undertaken. So if you can refer to that, but at this point, we only license the establishment. What you do, you submit the product listing. but the product registration itself would start based on the information that has been provided in the past during their webinars or presentations. I hope that it makes sense.
Okay. This is from Nicole Edelstein. Please, can you clarify your comment regarding requirements for MD license holders with GMP certification, as many companies are in this position? Should we hold off on pursuing ISO 13485 certification for now?
Sorry, Mel. I think Onel covered that. No. So all manufacturers and distributors of medical devices will need to comply with the requirements of ISO 13485.
This is from Eric Choke. If your license expires whilst the renewal is under review, does the MD establishment require an additional SAHPRA document to continue trading?
No. So
Okay.
this is where the section 22C6 of the Act applies. You can't operate while you're not in possession of a valid and current license. And that's why we advise that you apply at least 90 days. So pushing it, you can apply 6 weeks before your license expires, but take into consideration that there might be queries. There will be responses, so there will be that back and forth. So the license might expire while we're in the process of evaluation, and then it means you cannot operate until you receive the license. So, and I'll make an example where someone applies 6 weeks before time, but in terms of responding to the observations that we have picked up during the process, they do not respond. We will actually send a rejection letter that they're based on the fact that your license has already expired and you're not responding to the observation found. Your application has been responded and you need to cease any operations related to the medical devices. I hope that makes sense. And that includes the import at the port of entry, so we will not authorize that as well. Thank you.
Okay. This is from Donovan Clark. What is SAHPRA's stance on a company obtaining an ISO 13485 certificate from a certification body not currently on the approved CAB list?
Okay. Can that be sent to me on email? You can copy Peter or Oneha will respond directly to the person regarding that.
Okay. This is from Lizelle Wilson. Will ISO 13485 be required at port of entry by April for imports in addition to the license? Oh, wait, this has already been answered. Clear, thank you. Okay. I think there's questions from S. I don't know if you want to, I don't know if they following each other or they're two separate issues. I understood the ISO is required on renewal and not. ISI is required on renewal and not. Blanket April date. If I submit a new license in Feb 2025 for 8-week SAHPRA approval, do I need ISO by April? Does that make sense?
It has.
Okay.
It's just checking how far to push this requirement. So the requirement will be mandatory as of April 2025. So as I said, we will publish a communication outlining the actual timelines of when should everyone comply with the requirement. But if you apply before, then you submit the quality manual.
Okay, it's from the same person. Why has SAHPRA not considered MED's GMP certification is acceptable and a duplicate ISI certification cost should not be required? We need to consider final cost of products.
Yeah, so this is a bit more high level for me. If you can send the email directly to me, then I will escalate that. But at this point, I think the implementation or the requirement is there as of April of 2020.
Okay. This is from Kathy Smith. If a company is listed as 3 companies, but all operating on the same site and all distributing medical devices, do they require 3 distributor licenses?
So this is a loaded question, and it seems to be more specific. I think rather send an email, or we can have a discussion outside of this session, because I do have a number of questions. Why?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Kathy, just the email address is on the screen. Okay, this is from Lindy Fouché. There has been a significant increase in response time from the team when either sending an amendment or renewal. Has SAHPRA invested in additional resources? In effect, 3 months for renewal may not be sufficient. We originally submitted a renewal in April, and after escalation, it is only being reviewed now.
Let me give this one to the team. Umpile, Oneho, if you can address this one, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Puselezo. Can I request that the query be referred to me, and I will attend to the matter, as it seems to be company specific. I don't want to answer without understanding and investigating first. Thanks.
Thanks, Anil. Yako, you have your hand up and you can ask this question because this is the last question. Oh, there's another one. Okay. You can come through and ask your question. Nkosi, mic's up. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, it will be a quick one. Just on the GMP certificate versus the ISO certificate. She didn't really answer me fully there, or I misunderstood, and I apologize for that. But if we have a GMP certificate in place, I do know ISO stretches a bit further than the GMP, but it's only for exports and so on that your ISO will have a bigger implication. Do we still need an ISO? It's once again what the one lady asked. We double certifying here, and we already basically have a certification. Do we still need that ISO if we do have a GMP?
Okay, so just a follow-up, Yaku. So you're just an importer. You're not manufacturing any medical devices.
We are a importer, yes.
Yeah, so the requirement will be ISO 13485.
Thank you.
Okay. Khadija, you want to just come through? And then Steve, and I'll go back to the Q&A platform.
Hi, thanks. Sorry, I'm unable to actually put in the question, but I think it's better that I do actually talk to it. My question is more of a legal one regarding ISO 13485. In 2022, we had a gazetted publication indicating 3 years from the date of that gazette. We've then had April 2025 been provided as the new date in communications to industry, which is not actually a legal document as such. We now see that you've got a new implementation plan regarding without timelines, and you indicated you will be giving us those timelines. So my question is really is twofold. Number one, we've seen in the we saying that ISO 13485 in April 2025 will be required. How do we vet as international manufacturers, distributors in a country in terms of their compliance? Because we've seen the timelines and it's not entrenched and it seems to be moving. So that's one of my questions. And the other one is, if you are going to be requiring it at port of entry as well, how will they also evaluate in terms of the new fluid timelines regarding your implementation plan?
Okay, thank you. So I just want to make sure that I got the question that the communication 2022 was a gazetted communication. So this can you send me the email directly? So because like you said, it has legal implication. But what we did, long and short of it is that the implementation is still April 2025. But we've taken the input from industry on the concerns that they had and looked at, will everyone as of April 2025 be ready? But it's fine. Please send me an email and then we will revert back to you, and I'll make sure that we are covered so that we not found wanting, especially legally. So if you can send me that. But the communication is that as of 2025 April, ISO 13485 is a requirement.
Thank you, will do.
Thanks. Steve, you want to come through?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I have two questions. The first is, what is the position on vendors that approach a company that want to sell the product on? I understand, obviously, you cannot sell to a non-registered SAHPRA vendor, but what happens in the case where someone wants to, or vendor wants to buy from you, is to sell to an end user, but you have the contact details, the full information of the end user. Is that allowed?
Can I just have a follow-up? So there is if you're a distributor and someone wants to buy from you and then sell to someone else, but they're not in possession of a license.
Correct, yeah. So we often get approached by various companies. Obviously, when tenders go out and that type of thing, they'll approach us and then say, can we quote them? They want to quote the end user. You know, if they provide us the information, we know who the end user is that allowed? Because obviously it comes down to traceability with issues and any recalls and that type of thing. I just need clarity on that, if that is allowed.
Yeah. So I think just going back directly to the act, that if you are a seller of a medical device, you need to be in possession of a medical device establishment license.
Right. So we are in possession of that, but now someone approaches us.
Yeah, so another seller wants to be, so that seller,
Yes.
So I would assume that is a wholesaler, they will still need to be in possession of a license.
Yeah. And that's a common thing in our country at the moment. Unfortunately, people are wanting to sell on, and that's what we're sitting with at the moment. You know, and it's a big issue at the moment.
Yeah. If I may request that if you do get such, maybe you can just send us an email directly to us. We do have a complaints dedicated email address where we can follow up such cases, but we'll appreciate if you can share that with us.
Okay, excellent. No, that's good. Thank you. And then my second question, non-registered companies that continue to sell medical products in South Africa, what is the recourse there? Because, we've obviously, all of us sitting here are taking time. It's costing us to be registered, and we see the importance of it. But there are so many companies still supplying products that are not registered, do not have CE, or not ISO. What is the recourse? Does SAHPRA have teeth, or what is the recourse in a case like this?
Okay, so just a brief response is that our RC, which is the Regulatory Compliance Department, is inundated with those complaints and they're following them up. So every time we do get, there's an investigation and there is a recourse.
All right, so they are being followed up, because in the past we understood that there wasn't maybe lack of manpower or something, but it didn't seem to be, it didn't appear that anything was actually happening with regard to this.
No, they are. So I'll make an example. So should you have a complaint, which will be directed to the RC, which is regulatory compliance, will actually communicate with you if there's a need for additional information regarding the complaint, and they will follow it up until it's closed or there is a finalization to the investigation.
All right, perfect. No, thank you very much for this. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. I'm gonna take Kristen's hand because I see she's also placed a question on the Q&A platform. Can come through.
Hi there. I actually have two questions. The first has to do with the turnaround time for notifications. Is there some sort of established turnaround time for notifications? Because we've definitely noticed that we've been experiencing some delays in hearing back. Then the second question, and maybe you can deal with them together, also is linked to Khadija's question about ISO 13485 compliance. You know, as an industry with SAHPRA has definitely provided more than ample opportunity for companies to become compliant. Discussions have been going on since as far back as, 2019, 2020, even before the gazetted notices of 2022. And it does seem somewhat prejudicial for companies that have expended significant amounts of resources, financial and in terms of time, to become compliant, that it doesn't seem to be a more proactive approach to enforcing 13485 compliance. And I think it's quite important for us to bear in mind that the point of ISO 13485 is not, it wasn't intended as a tick box exercise, but rather actually to ensure the integrity of the product. So I just wanted to understand if there will be further engagement on this and whether SAHPRA intends to be more proactive in enforcing the requirements.
Yes. Just that one, if I may respond later. So we have a meeting. I think we will have a stakeholder engagement meeting before the actual April of 2025. So I'm hoping that we'll have a concrete plan which we will publish or communicate at the time. But this one, as I indicated from Khadija, I'll also just engage the people in the decision-making position. Thanks. The first one, sorry, I think I missed now the first one. I'm sorry. No, I think I missed. Yeah,
sorry. Sorry, the first question had to do with the turnaround times for notifications.
Okay, on your home Pile June, if you can give the turnaround time for the evaluation of notifications, please. On your home Pile or June.
Alex, you're muted. Hey? Oh, there we go.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure thing. Yes. So with the notification, what we've noted, if just to confirm, did you send it to MD admin or MD notification? Because as you can see on the screen that Melanie just displayed, MD notification it's for retention fees, but notification must be required to be directed to MD admin at SAHPRA. So in terms of the turnaround time, a notification from our side is 3 days.
Okay. This is from Rehana Suleiman. Is there a walk-in consulting service available? Is she referring to medical devices having a walk-in consulting service?
Yeah. It's too broad.
Oh my God,
so
okay.
we are always available to assist, but the walk-in is not always unless it's done with prior notification or arrangement. But then we are available on our phones, on Teams, But then if it requires that there should be a face-to-face meeting or even a Teams meeting, we're also open, but we have to arrange this in advance. But we're not going to set through the big from the first page of the application until the end. So I guess it depends what is the need for the consultation. So you can contact us directly now on the email addresses, or if you want to be specific, then you can indicate what is it that you want to consult on.
Okay. Okay, Nadia's is asking whether these responses that you're now providing for Siletso will be sent via email to industry. Colleagues, as Siletso mentioned earlier, the questions that are raised here, we will place it on the website. We'll publish it on the website, and I think the address has been shared by my colleague, Dukoso. Once that's available, we will send a letter or an email to industry alerting them to these questions. Q&A has been published on the website. This is from Anel Janssen. If medical device consumables are used during clinical trials as part of patient individual clinical trial kits, are those required to be added to the medical device license, or are the consumables used during clinical trials governed by different guidelines and requirements?
I thought that you was going to respond. Yes, for clinical trials, please send the email. Unfortunately, we didn't include it here, but we do have the team from registration. So you can send the request to MD Reg. So it's M for medical, then device reg at SAHPRA.org.za. So they deal with clinical trial applications. Oh, I see the manager from the team is here. She'll assist.
Sorry, I just wanna say the address is incorrect. It's also sorry to correct this medreg at SAHPRA.org.za. And then we have the team. I don't know if they are able to answer, but it's better if you send it to medreg at SAHPRA.org.za. Maybe I'll put it on the chat to make it easier. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. Follow-up question from Stephen. Are we as license holders only allowed to sell to other companies that are also license holders? I feel like you've answered this.
No, Onel can come in. This depends on the activity of the license, but Onel, we can assist with the question.
Puseletso, thank you. I'm not sure whether the question is coming from either an importer or a manufacturer. So if the buyer or is buying to sell to other end users, then they will be required to be in possession of a license. However, it is important to note that according to Section 22H of the Act, a wholesaler cannot purchase medical devices from another wholesaler. Thank you.
I hope that answers your question, Stephen. Okay. This is from Kathy Smith. Just to clarify, you are saying if ISO 13485 is not in place by April 2025, and so long as the company is certified by license renewal, that is acceptable. But they still need a certification for port of entry if license is not yet expired.
Okay, so for this one, Mel, let me just say this will be included as part of the responses on the
Answers.
website. Yeah,
Okay.
because yeah.
Okay. This is from Muriel Kapanye. For gas distributors using the same name but at different sites, do they have to have individual MD licenses, including ISO 13485?
Oneho, Mpile,
Yes, I've answered
you've answered. Okay,
more
on the chat.
and the
Okay.
chat there. Okay.
Mel, I think this has been responded to on the chat.
It doesn't seem like it, but okay. Maybe I should refresh.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. This is from Alvi Spearpoint. Have the staff at ports of entry been informed and clearly understand the fluid timelines for ISO certification so that it won't result in them insisting on proof of ISO certification along with the establishment license?
I think this is still the question related to the ISO implementation plan. We will share all the details. So the team that includes the port technicians will also be involved in the process.
Pusiletso, you mentioned something about compliance investigations or complaints queries. Is there an email address that colleagues can share as a comment to Robin House? Because she's asking about email addresses for compliance investigations.
Okay, Theo or Sandy, sorry, if you can share the email address on the chat. Sorry,
Sure.
we didn't include it. Thanks.
Thanks. So Njabulo Mbata, he's querying whether even marketing companies that deal with medical devices, if they are required to also have ISO certification.
Yeah, that's a marketing company on behalf of a manufacturer or distributor. I'm just thinking, but I think this is where we refer to the regulation in terms of the advertisement of medical devices and the requirements there. But I'm just not sure. Maybe you can just send a clear query. Is that marketing as part of a company, which is the manufacturer or a distributor? Mostly.
Okay. Okay, this is a follow-up from Steve's question earlier. Oh, Njabulo is saying on behalf of a retailer regarding the marketing company's question.
Can I refer this to the registration team? But we will respond. And it's on the chat, Melvin.
Okay.
If it's on the chat, yes, I'll refer to the registration.
All right.
team.
Great. This is from Whitney Rodriguez. Can a wholesaler without a license purchase from a manufacturer? Just as that's a follow-up.
I think on it did cover this, but on it can come.
Thanks, Puseletso. A wholesaler without a license, they should be licensed in order for them to be able to purchase and resell medical devices. Thank you.
Thanks, Anil. Okay. This is from Madeline. It was agreed with SAHPRA several years ago that different sites under one legal entity, an ISO 13485 QMS certificate does not need separate licenses and ISO certificates. I don't know if this is a question or a statement.
If I may,
Yes.
that was what we agreed as the industry forum with SAHPRA several years ago. So we shouldn't be going back on that. That was something that was discussed probably back in 2018 even.
Thanks, Madeline. Yes, we'll discuss that with the senior management. Thank you.
Thanks, Puseletso.
Thank you.
This is from Gail Mkele. Does a warehousing company warehousing on behalf of a licensed manufacturer require a license as well as an ISO 13485 accreditation?
I think One did respond, but One, if you can come in, please.
I think maybe we lost there, but just to come in, so
Yes,
Gail, so in terms of wholesalers, as we've indicated that ISO 13485, it's applicable to both manufacturers and distributors. Then for wholesalers, we will discuss and inform you accordingly.
I lost you a bit on my side, on Pile. I'm not sure if Gail did get the point.
Am I audible now? Can you hear me?
Yes,
So,
we can hear.
yes. So I was saying, Gail, in terms of wholesalers, the ISO 13485, it's applicable to both manufacturers and distributors.
Yeah, any further communication relating to wholesalers will be shared along the way. But at this point, the focus is on manufacturers and distributors. Thank you.
okay. This is from G. Bowie. With regard to amendments for a staff change, is a new application document required? What are the costs involved? And how does the amendment impact on the expiry date of the current license? He's unable to find anything on the website.
So the application form that we have on the website will be used for new application renewal and amendment. So as part of the supporting documents, the requirement is that the applicant should include a cover letter. So that's where you will indicate whether it's an amendment or a renewal. The expiry date that's on the original license stays throughout. What will happen is only the addition of an amendment date. So if the license is to expire in 2025, that date stays the same. The only difference, we will indicate that we're now on version 1 of this license, and this version was approved on this date, but the expiry date stays the same. I hope I've
Thanks,
covered.
Thank you so much. Would you believe there's no more questions on the Q&A platform? I think we have a hand. Steve?
Hi, thanks again. I apologize that I'm harping on this continuously, but I do feel there's a need to educate the end users, because we have a major issue that a lot of the government departments are sending out tenders to multiple companies that are not SAHPRA registered. All right. And the government departments are often buying from non-SAHPRA registered companies. And it also goes back to my first question on non-registered companies. So there are many companies that are not registered on the SAHPRA platform that will quote a government institution. The government institution will buy from them. And I believe that the education for end users is extremely important, and especially government department, because that is where I said the biggest issue is that they are buying from non-registered SAHPRA suppliers or vendors, and going through multiple tenders. A guy sits in his garage and he's quoting on things that he knows nothing about. And I believe the end users, especially government, needs to be educated on this.
Thank you, Steve. So we have started. SAHPRA has been in communication with the National Department of Health, with Treasury, and some provincial departments. But yes, I do agree. It is important that they know, but we are in discussion.
All right. No, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Okay. This is from Lindy Foucher. It's in reference to Gail's comments. If the warehouse space is just rented space, but all activities, including invoicing, traceability, etc., is done by the medical device distributor or manufacturer, then the warehouse is not a wholesaler.
It sounds like a statement.
Wait, I think Ompile, no. So Ompile is asking Lindy, is the warehouse just storing the medical devices only? Lindy, you want to come?
Yes.
Yes.
So I work with a lot of customers that where they will have their office space on one side and they will have their warehouse space on another site, right? But the activities such as invoicing, doing the logistics, doing the import, the purchasing, working with the customer, so customer services, all of that is actually at the medical device importer and distributor. But just the physical space is rented. So in terms of ISO 13485, that rented space is technically a service provider. So they are not seen as a wholesaler. So my question is, would that warehouse facility still require a license and an ISO certificate? They are not a wholesaler. They do not purchase the product from the medical device company. They literally just store it. And the quality requirements such as pest control, environmental monitoring, all of that is managed through your service provider interaction that you have with them, an agreement, an SLA, QA agreement, all of that. Because that is how, if you look at ISO 13485, you can have two different sites. Does that make sense?
I am trying to understand. So the space is not a wholesaler.
No.
It's managed by yourselves as the distributor.
Yes. You manage them as a service provider. It's just a space that's rented. So would that warehouse still require a license and an ISO certificate? Surely not, because ISO 13485 do allow for you to manage your service provider through agreements, quality agreements, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Please tell me if I'm wrong. This feels like a wholesaler because that's where you do your storage and transportation services, right? That storage site.
So what is the definition of wholesaler? Is the definition of a wholesaler when you store stuff that you are a wholesaler?
No, I'm trying to understand because from what you're saying, so storage is done there because when you think about storage services, so it means you have to still comply with good like warehousing practices, right? So
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to understand, the business model, that that space just sitting there is managed by someone, not the original importer. So maybe is it okay to just send an email? I think maybe it's important that we understand, and if there's a need to have a meeting so that we understand the whole business model.
I think I will send an email, but I think this is a question that has been raised quite a few times, because the definition of wholesaler and what you can manage in terms of ISO 13485 with regards to service providers seem to be two different things for medical devices. But I will send an email, and then I think it would be good if that will be posted, the response
on the
to that
website
as well.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
do it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lindy. Thanks, Puseletso. This is from Apelele, Arthur. In addition to Madeline's question, could you also clarify in your response whether the ISO certification will be required for a local applicant registered as a distributor, which is part of a global company that has ISO 13485 certification in place?
Okay, we'll include that on the response as well. Mel will include it when we respond. I think it will be on the website anyway.
No problem. There's a question from Anton Kutsia, but it's dealing with establishment of an enforcement unit, as well as publish penalties for non-compliance. I think, Puseletso, you referred to regulatory compliance as our enforcement unit. So
no, we do have, so if there's a specific question, they can direct it directly to the regulatory compliance, but we do have.
Yeah. Donovan Clark. Is there a plan to update or broaden the... Someone's, can you please make sure that you're muted? Because I can hear me echoing. Thank you. Is there a plan to update or broaden the current device lists found in the classification guidance document, as some devices in the South African market are recognized as medical devices globally, but not in SA?
Yes.
You answer this later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what we have, our classification guideline is based mainly on the MDR. But if there's any addition or questions related to a product which is not on our classification guideline, please forward it to us within IFU. We look at it and then we can advance things.
Thanks. Comment. Okay, these are just comments. Okay. Anusha, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for a very informative session. Just to expand a little bit on the question that Lindy asked earlier, I thought that was very interesting. For me, what it speaks to really is about the act in terms of the actual the distribution function. As I understand it, the invoicing is done at the place where the medical device license is held, but the warehouse is where the items are picked, and that for me is a distribution function, is it not? And is that not the essence of what a wholesaler would do anyway? So maybe she could clarify as to whether that who's responsible for that. Is it the warehouse function that is doing that, or is it the employees of the medical device license holder that is situated at the warehouse that is responsible for the actual picking and distribution of product? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, as I said, we'll respond to Lindy, but we'll also publish on the website. But I think her question was different. They said it's part of the distribution license, and you're saying that's a wholesale. So, but we will respond to that once we receive the email but I've noted that down anyway on my side.
Thanks, Vusiletso. Frangelina, let's swallow. You want to ask your question?
Hi. The first one is if you want to change an email address or the domain for the AR, does that constitute an amendment or a notification? That's the first one. And second one is if you're sending a notification, do you have to use this new form because it has changed? It requires like an OEM and also copies through to other columns, or can you just stick to the old form that you used for listing? Thanks.
Sorry. So the form, we advise that we use the most current form because we do have version control. I think the first one I could have missed. Sorry, Angelina.
The first one is if you're changing, if there's a change and like my email address, the domain changes. Does that constitute a notification or an amendment where you have to pay for changing the email address?
It's an easy and also difficult question at the same time. So an amendment is any change to your license details. Any other information that does not affect the license will be a notification. I hope that answers the question.
Happy.
But Onya, how you can come in. If I didn't cover that.
Yes, that is correct. It is an amendment if it does affect the details that have been on the issued license. Thanks.
Thank you, Anil. Okay. This is from Eric Chauke. We have a medical device that was registered as a medicine more than 20 years ago, but the product is globally classified as a medical device. It is now difficult to update this product to fulfill the medicine ECTD requirements locally. We now want to transfer it to medical devices. Can we list it now as a medical device and cancel it as a medicine? Or do we wait for the medical device registrations to transfer it?
Okay, I think you'd rather say your.
Wait, it's
I'm
long.
about to say, but right, no, Lydia is here to respond. Thanks.
I just want to ask the person. I don't know who was asking. Sorry, I was busy with something. I apologize. But you need to apply for product designation and provide all the documents that you require, where we'll sit down and look at the borderline product. And there is a form, an indication on the borderline guideline where they show you how you can apply for product designation. So you will have to apply for that, and then we'll sit down and discuss, and it will be approved whether it's a medical device or not. It will involve all the stakeholders or units involved in terms of that. In this case, I think it will also include medicine and medical devices. Then we'll debate. Just go through the guideline for borderline, and it will guide you how to apply for designation as a medical device or otherwise. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. Okay. Alida, you have your hand up?
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
Mhm.
On the last mentioned about the borderline, my question is just came up from that, the borderline guideline. We have applied for borderline applications almost 2 years ago, and I understand that the borderline process is still in workings. It's not established yet, so we haven't received any outcome, and we understand that it's still under construction, if I can put it like that, the borderline process and review process. Or do I perhaps miss something?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please.
Please follow up with our HPA, in particular, Shetal. She'll forward your query, follow up on your application with them, and you'll get the response from her on the way forward, please.
Okay, thank you. We have done that a few times, but I'll do again. Yeah, we have done it a few times, and we understand until recently that it's still, the process is still not established really.
No, we do address borderline products.
Okay, maybe, yeah, I'll follow up again. Maybe I'm a bit outdated. I think it's 2 months back, 3 months back last that I
the guideline is updated. It's updated, but we still have the old guideline, and we still have a process that we use in between. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Lydia. I don't know if this question was answered. It's from Kathy Smith. Do manufacturers and distributors buying from other manufacturers or distributors also require a wholesaler license? I think even if the products are Class A products that are non-measuring or non-sterile.
Ono will assist with the response.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The question was answered, although the other answer was only reference to manufacturing and distribution. So as per the previous answer, it is the discretion of the manufacturer or the distributor to apply for a license. However, according to the position paper, they are exempted. Thank you.
Thanks, Anil. Stephen, you've got your hand up again, or is that just a hand that's been previously up?
Sorry, I've taken my hand down.
Sorry, my hand was up.
Oh, this is Stephen. Okay, Stephen, your hand is still up. Okay, I'm going to go to Lynette.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, Stephen, are you another person? Oh, that is Steve. Stephen, carry on. Please ask your question.
I'm different to the Steve.
Sorry.
My apologies. I just had a follow-up about the earlier question. My earlier question about if I have a SAHPRA license, am I only allowed to sell to other license holders? My two questions is one, the answer was that if I'm a wholesaler, I cannot sell to other wholesalers, but if I'm a distributor, am I allowed to do that? Number one. And number two, can I also then sell to other companies who don't have a license at all?
I can come in on that one, Melanie. So, Stephen, as per section 22H, right, a wholesaler can only buy from a local manufacturer and distributor. So you can't buy from another wholesaler.
Okay, and yes, it is. And I had a look at the act. It was mentioning specifically scheduled substances. So, and forgive me for my ignorance here, but if we sell disposable medical product, so not like a medicine, does that still apply?
Now it comes back to honest answer that class A devices which are non-sterile, non-measuring, you don't need a license for that.
But I'm saying, what
yes.
if the person or the company that comes to buy from us, they don't have a license, so they want to buy like class A or class B devices from us?
I'm not following the second part. I'm not sure if you understand the second part.
Sorry, Mpile, I can come in. I think it refers back to my previous answer. If Steve was able to hear my previous answer. So if they're buying class A non-sterile, non-measuring medical devices, they will not.
Okay, so you're saying we can only sell
having a license.
disposable medical products to other people with other companies with a license.
The word disposable is broad because there are other classes of disposable medical devices. However, if they're class A non-sterile, non-measuring, then they would not be, they will be exempted from having a license. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so then a quick follow-up to that is then who is responsible, whose responsibility is it to ensure that the purchaser has a license? Like if someone comes to me and says, okay, I have a license, and then let's say, like, is it up to me to verify that that is true?
So according to Section 22H, the wholesaler's responsibility is to purchase from licensed manufacturers and importers, and the manufacturers or the importers' responsibility is also to ensure that if they are buying to resell, then they are licensed under Section 22C of the Medicine Act. So it is
So
both the responsibility of both parties to ensure compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's for the buying part, but what if I'm selling? Or maybe I'm not understanding like your answer.
If I can come in again, Melanie. It is both the responsibilities of both parties. Even the supplier needs to ensure that they are selling medical devices to licensed wholesalers, if I can put it like that, or depending on what devices they are selling or supplying, based on them being class A's. If they're class A, they need to be non-sterile, non-measuring. Should they not, or should the customer not have a license? I don't know if I'm clear in my answer.
Okay, no, thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Aneo. I'm just going to go back to the Q&A. So we get information as per from the medical devices unit. So the question is, and we update the website accordingly. So could you please advise if there's an additional or updated list for accepted internal cabs on the website? What is on the website is what the medical device unit has provided to the comms team. So Puseletso, is there another updated or additional list?
So we update the list that's so the list that is on the website is current.
Okay, thank you. This is from Donovan Clark. Will common specifications be included as part of the requirements for medical devices to ensure devices are manufactured according to the globally recognized safety standards, specifically medical electrical standards?
Sorry, is that as part of the ISO certification or during product registration?
Donovan, can you respond? Don't know if he's still online. You can answer when we publish on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have it. Oh, yeah, you have it on the Q&A. That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Comment. Okay. Okay, there's a couple of comments from Madeline. Okay, this is a question from Carol Wilson. Please confirm for Class B and above, manufacturers or distributors sell to wholesalers and other distributors. All companies in the chain must have an MD premises license. Wholesalers and distributors sell to retail outlets. The retail outlets do not have to have an MD license as they sell directly to the end user. For example, a pregnancy test.
As this is a repetition, we can answer this through the Q&A
No
on the
problem.
website. Thanks.
Thanks, Aneo. Oh, there's hands from Lynette Blanche and Palisa. Mokgotsi, Lynette, you want to come through and then Palisa?
Thank you, and good morning, colleagues. Just a comment to the point that Lydia made in terms of the borderline guideline. Industry has been waiting with a bated breath for this guideline for some time now, and I think it would be great if the medical device unit could also put some pressure on SAHPRA and the other units to get this guideline finalized as soon as possible. Thank you.
So that was just a comment, Lynette. Thank you. Palisa?
So just a question, maybe I missed this earlier on. After you've received communication that your application that you submitted is under technical review, what's the turnaround time for you to get your license? Is it still the 3 days turnaround time, or is it you get feedback upon evaluation? And how long does the evaluation process last for?
Just to come in, Melanie. So our TED is 6 to 8 weeks, and then we keep on updating you on the progress of the application. Remember, you after screening, you receive an acknowledgement. After acknowledgement, it has to go to technical evaluation. From there, internal processes are going to be adhered to. So our TED, it's 6 to 8 weeks.
Thanks, Ampile.
I'm sorry, Mel, if I may
Yes,
come in. And
sure.
this is important, especially for renewal applications, because that's where we see the issue that we have timelines for when you should respond. And if obviously you have some challenges or it's taking you long to respond, you have to let us know. But 6 to 8 weeks, we assume that everything goes well, you respond within 48 hours or so. So if you take a month to respond to an admin query, so it means the timeline is no longer 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. This is from Frangelina Letsualo. Is there any update on Section 18A and 18B exemptions as these expire next month?
Okay, I think Lydia can assist if she's still in a meeting. This was actually covered in some of the meeting, but Lydia can assist if she's still in.
My apologies, I'm in two meetings. What's the question?
It's related to the section 18.
Oh, section 18 exemption.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We have already submitted to NDOH. We will follow up so that before, I think it's expiring somewhere in the 10th of December. Before the 10th of December, that is signed by the minister, but we have already sent it through to NDOH for renewal or extension, another extension of exemption of section 18A and 18B. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. Okay, I think that is a repeat question. Will be answered when we publish. Mia, this is from Denise Richard. Can a licensed distributor buy a Class B, C, and D items from a South African affiliate of an international manufacturer for installation in South Africa? They then essentially sell on, but also need to be manufacturers since they perform manufacturing steps according to ISO.
Sorry, Mel, can you repeat the question? I'm not sure on if you got it.
Okay. Can a licensed distributor buy Class B, C, and D items from a South African affiliate of an international manufacturer for installation in South Africa? I think that's part one. Then they essentially sell on, but also need to be manufacturers since they perform manufacturing steps according to ISO.
Okay, I think the one I'm not getting is the second part, but yeah, distributor can buy from a manufacturer. So the part where selling to a manufacturer, that's the part that I didn't get to. Amel, sorry. One, please respond if you understand.
I think we'll have to unpack this and respond when publishing.
Later. I think he's just saying he's both a distributor and he's going to be a manufacturer. That's, I think it's two-tiered in that way, but you can respond when we publish. Okay, I think Chris Miller, you've been, Sandiswa has answered. You, oh, Denise, you want to maybe just explain, your hand is up.
Yes, please,
Yes,
if I may.
great,
If I
great.
may.
Yes.
If a company they distribute devices which require installation, they purchase the devices from an international manufacturer that is based in South Africa as well. Now, because they have to do very sophisticated installation steps, they need a manufacturing license as well. The part that I actually omitted was, do they also need to have a wholesaler's license because they are selling on? Does that help at all? So they buy from the international manufacturer. They then distribute to South African clients, and then they install the equipment for a South African client. So they are in effect buying from a manufacturer and selling on, which is that not a wholesaler step?
Thank you. If I may come in, Melanie.
Yes, please do.
Yes, so they will be required to be in possession of a wholesaler license and a manufacturing license. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Aneo. Denise, Okay, this is from Anton Kutsia. A key aspect of device safety is that the regulator knows where devices come from and who is the authorized representative and who manufactured it. When will SAHPRA implement the requirement for foreign manufacturers to register with SAHPRA? Without this in place, proper post-market surveillance and recalls are not possible. So
Sorry, Mel, my
Can I come in?
I keep missing.
Aneo,
Yeah,
yes.
on the office.
The current application forms that have available on the website, they do require information of the original equipment manufacturer and the site address. That is where we will be sourcing that information should there be a need to recall. Thank you.
I don't think you've completely answered, but we'll go through it. You will go through it with the team. And then we'll publish. Okay. Basiletso, I think this is a repeat question. This is dealing with the regulatory compliance. This is from Chris Miller. I understand that SAHPRA has established a regulatory compliance unit tasked with investigating and addressing matters related to non-compliance. But what is the actual punishment for not being compliant? I think he's referring to what is the impact when it's specific to medical devices.
If I may come in.
Yes,
Sorry. Based on the investigation from the regulatory compliance team, they will provide a recommendation either to the medical device unit or to the organization on what action should be taken against the license holder. Thank you.
Thanks. And I think what would be helpful if you share an example or two when we are doing the write-up for the answers for the Q&A. Maybe that might help the end user.
Thank you. I can answer.
Sure.
Oh, okay. If, for example, based on the investigation, the recommendation is that they maybe open a case with this SAPS, then that would be undertaken by the regulatory compliance unit. Thank you.
Thanks, Ania. That's helpful. I hope you've been answered, Chris. Okay. There are no hands right now. Pusiletso, and I think that is the last question I can see on the Q&A platform. I don't know if there's any further questions. I don't know if you have any closing remarks or.
Okay, no, thanks, Mel. So yes, there are no more questions, but I see I am receiving some queries on my email. So what we will do, if it's a specific or specific to a company or it's specific to an application, we will respond directly to the person. But then if it's a situation that will affect everyone, then we'll include it under the Q&A responses that will be published on the website. And I must thank everyone for making time for this session and all the questions that make us think and go back to rethink everything else. But we do appreciate the support from industry. Yeah, I think, and thank you to the team as well for assisting to the communications team, Mel and Dogozo, and the Madimeja, as well as my team from licensing, as well as the team from registration. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And if there are no more questions, Mel, I'm happy to close.
There's no questions, but Njabulo Mbata says that we haven't answered his question, but I think he had two.
Okay.
But Njabulo, you should have had opportunity to raise your hand if that was the case. You did have the opportunity to raise your hand, but we will go to the Q&A and the medical devices team will answer accordingly.
Yeah.
So
we'll make
let's
sure
that.
that, all the questions in the Q&A, we will try and I think Mel and her team will try and get us the spreadsheet. We will try and make sure that all the questions are addressed. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Ndokozo. If everyone is happy, I'm happy to adjourn. Okay, I see the thumbs up. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, team. Bye.